morning, everyone. This is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums. Hopefully you've been following along in the series on how I made this Life's a Bowl of Cherries mini album. If you're just signing in, there are other videos to check out. The first one is how to make the cover, the hinge, and the pages, and then we start making the pages. And that brings us today to page 3B. So I'm going to do that. But I just want to let you know, if for any reason you, let's say you put the wrong page on the wrong page, you put 3B onto 2B, it's not a big deal. The way I like to do my pages is I like to have sort of a flow to them. I like to use different color combinations, but obviously different elements on each page. So I had the blue, there's the green, then there's the beige and the red. There's the dark teal with the cherries. And then here, the one we're doing today is the lighter blue. But if you did the lighter blue on the other page, it's not a big deal. I try not to put two pages with a lot of colors together. If you do, it's no big deal. Just match the pages together. So that brings us to what we're going to do today. So here is 3B and 4F. Back of page 3, the front of page 4. And obviously they coordinate a little bit. So we have simply a flap with a couple of mats inside. Easy schmeezy. This one gets a little more rambunctious. We have a side flap, and then there's another flap here, and we have a side loading pocket with a photo mat. And then this page opens, and we've got a couple of photo mats. So it gets a little more involved as the pages go. My theory is I try to make my book sort of like a fireworks display. It starts out slow and then builds to a crescendo, and we have the 3 pages, and then we go to a quiet finale. I don't know if it works that way, but in my mind, that's how I want to do it. So let's get started with what we need for the back of page 3. Okay, one more refresher. Here is the back of page 3. It's a flap with a sort of a wide tab on it. And then we've got the photo mats inside. So like I said, it's going to go pretty quick. So what you'll need for that is 2 pieces of cardstock. One that is 6.5 by 7 5/8. And the mat is 5 1/4 by 7 5/8. So I will grab my scoreboard. And as I grab my scoreboard, I just want to let you know, instead of scoring at 1 1/4 as I'm showing you here, I've decided we need to score at 1 3/8. So hopefully you see that note. It just gives a little more room to put our element on the page. So score at 1 3/8. All right, now I'm going to take my paper and lay it down. And of course the page is 8 by 7.5. So our paper is going to be 1/8 of an inch smaller. So 7 3/8 by 7 7/8 is the size of the paper. And I am using this blue. Did it come from Patterns and Solids? I think it did. It's just the light blue with the kitchen-y background. And of course there's no name on the Pattern and Solid, so I can't tell you what it's called. So this is another day. I finished up the back of page 2 last night as far as making the video. And it is 8:30 in the morning. I've been up since 5:30. Really excited to get this tutorial done for you. So I wanted to get a head start. Had coffee with my husband. You may know that I live and travel in my RV, and I am in the state of Florida in the U.S., And it was it still is, it's a foggy morning, so it sort of was pretty. It's cool, so I did not go outside and sit and have my coffee, but that's okay. I had the window, and I still have the window in front of me. If I think of it, I'll put a picture, show you what my workspace is like. All right, now we've got that done. I'm going to fold on this score line and burnish so the page opens and closes real easy. And I hope besides learning how to do this mini album, you sort of got a little peek into my mind, as scary as that may seem. But how I put my pages together and how I group my colors together so you can take it upon yourself to design your own mini albums when you find papers that you love. All right, so I'm just putting this, I'm centering it on the page. I'm just about 1/8 of an inch from the top and bottom. It looks like about 3/8 of an inch as far as the pattern paper, and looks like more like 1/2 an inch. So I didn't exactly square it on there, but I did get pretty close. And then we'll grab the mat and glue it down. All right, let's go ahead and glue things down. So I've got my little cherry soda, which is a cute little ephemera piece. Although I don't know that I like cherry soda. I don't drink much soda. All right, so that goes on there, just center it as best can be. And then we've got this light blue patterns and solids piece. I didn't want to put a white mat on the front here, but this does act as a photo mat. You still could put a photo right on top of this, and it would look wonderful. And then I've got this piece. This is from the 12 by 12. And I like this because it replicates the pattern from here. And looks like I put it on wrong, but no, I've got this little piece here. This came from the 8 by 8 cut apart page, the one that is called, can't tell you. So I should have had it, oh, it's too small. Wait, I must have had another one. So let me find that one and finish. It came from this sheet. It's the 8 by 8 I Love You Cherry Much, and it was this piece down here. I probably cut it 6 1/4 because that's usually the size of my photo mats, but I was wrong. It is not 6 1/4. I'll put this down and tell you what the measurement is. The height of that is 6 1/2. So there we go with that. And now I think at this point all you need to put some magnets on. Alrighty. So this is from the 6 by 6 page, cherry on top. I should have guessed that. Huh. And if you want to cut out cherries, any scraps from the back of that page would be great, because they'll have just a white background, which you could just either leave or cut out, or just leave like a little border of the white background. So that goes like that. Then we've got our 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 photo mat. So that'll go parallel to the cherries. And then I've just got a plain blue mat. I'm just gonna dry fit it and we look good. Even though I may have just cut this out, I still dry fit it, although I did cut this out last night. And you know, sometimes you do things late at night and you never know. All right, so there's that. And again, you could put an embellishment right here. I do like the look of that. All right, now we've got another cherry on top strip. Oh, and this looks to be about 3/4 of an inch. Yes, it is. So that'll go here with an even border. I want to make sure I get glue on both sides just to keep that magnet in, and I think I'm good. All right, then our photo mat. And again, I didn't want the photo mat down here to be twinsies with this one. I put it up at the top just for some drama. It's the only time I like drama in my life. All right, now this one. So this came from, so this one, yes, the Life's a Bowl of Cherries. I think we cut this out for one of the pages previously, and I had that left over, and I liked having that. Even though it's dark blue and I've got the light blue, we still could have that. But all by itself, it doesn't really, I mean, it could fit, but it's more than a 1/8 of an inch border, and it's enough that it drives me a little crazy. Is the width of this good? Yes. So I'm going to cut that down a little bit. I'm going to use my... So I'm going to cut that down to about 1. And then I'm going to put the I Love You Cherry More on top of that. So if we put this here, do we even need that? I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to glue this light blue on. Actually, I could still use that. All right, I'm going to glue this light blue one down and then put I Love You Cherry More on top of it. I feel like this paper was not cut straight, which happens. But if I put this I Love You Cherry More straight, you somehow don't notice that it's a little bit wonky. All right, so I'm done with this. Now I did take one of the large ones from, I know we cut it down earlier, and I put that there in the corner. Let me show you. Just like that. So you could do that if you wish. It's open on the bottom, so you still could put a photo there. I just thought it added a little more interest to the page. To me, without it, it looks a little blah. All right, since I had the book, let's remind you of the next page. All right, let's talk about construction of the front of page 4, 4F. So ignore this flap right now. So we've got a flap that opens this way and then a flap that opens that way. This is actually one piece. And then we have a small flap on this side, and I really just wanted that because I wanted a place for the magnet that wasn't on the pocket. So anyhow, so there's a flap here, and then there's a pocket. That's really all there is to the construction. The decorating is a little different. But let me show you what you'll need for 4F. You will need a piece that is 4 by 9, 4.5 by 8, and yeah, I didn't give a measurement, but we know it's going to be 8 by 11. 8 by 11. So let me grab the scoreboard. And for this flap, the 11-inch side is at the top. We're going to score it 5/8. 5/8. 3/4. So we have a 1/8 of an inch gusset. And then 6 1/8. I know it's a weird number, but that's what it is. I know we're going to need to score the pocket. So we're going to score, oh, this is simple. We're just going to score it 1/2 inch and 8.5. I'm not scoring on the long way, and I'll tell you why as I'm putting it together. And then for our flap, we've got the 4.5 inch side at the top. We're simply going to score at 1/2 inch. All right, let's go ahead and burnish. This goes like this. So I've got my flap folded under. I'll add my adhesive, and it's going to go to the left side of the page, and we're going to keep it on the page, not on the gusset, or not on the hinge, actually, is what I meant to say. So this is supposed to be 4 by 8. I don't know if you guys can tell, but it looks like it's 4.5 by 8. So let me cut that 1/2 inch off real quick. This is how I get glue on my little trimmer here, because I try to work fast and the glue's still wet. All right, better. 4 by 8. So it's lined up at the bottom, lined up at the top, lined up against the side of the page. Alrighty, that's good. Now let us burnish the folds here. So this is going to fold in, but it also could fold out. And then we've got the 1/8 inch gusset on this page. I wanted to make sure there was some extra room on this page, because once you get photos in here, it's just going to be a little bit chunky. I made sure that this book was not going to be, I was not going to run out of room. So this will go with this 5/8 of an inch tab or gusset, whatever you want to call it, right on the edge. So we'll add our glue here. I did cut that to 8. Yay. Alright, so I'm going to line this up so that first score line is going to go at the edge of the page, but not over. Alright, and then our pocket, I'm going to fold and burnish here. So I just decided I didn't want the extra bulk of having a tab at the bottom of this pocket, and also so things wouldn't get stuck in it. So we're just going to glue it down, just a tiny touch of glue. So let's just do the top tab first. And line that up, making sure that this flap can still open. So pull it away a smidge, a hair, a little bit. Once it's glued down, it'll be good. And then I'm going to add just a little bead of glue. So you see I can't draw a straight line with my glue. Just a little bit on the side. And then this will go down. I almost wasn't going to add glue here, thinking that if you put something in, it's going to get stopped there. But I just felt a little more cautious and decided I would add glue to there. All right. So we've got our 1/8 of an inch gusset here. So I want to make sure the page will go like that, and then that'll open like that. That'll open like that, and there's our pocket. So let's decorate. All right, this is going to go inside the pocket. This piece is 5 1/8 by 7 7/8, and that's just going to go inside the pocket like that. Now you could go as far as you want, but I did use the rest of this piece for the mat that's inside the pocket, and this corresponds with that piece. So make sure you have it's like 2 3/4. There was a piece that was maybe 9 inches wide, and I just saved what was left of it, because right now the truth of the matter is we're getting down to not having as much paper left in our stash, and you sort of have to be a little careful on what you use. But listen, if you cut into a piece, like if you cut into this piece that's supposed to go into the pocket by my instructions, doesn't matter. Find something else, especially if it's inside a pocket. You know, you're going to cover it up, so design-wise, it's not going to make that big of a deal. And you might want something different. So again, this didn't go all the way into the pocket, but you can tell. You'll peek in and it looks like it's there. All right, so we've got that one. Now we've got this one. This is going to go on the outside, and this is 5 1/8 by 7 7/8. Did I tell you that already? Anyhow, that's going to go on the outside, and we're going to have this pattern showing. I love this pattern, but I wanted to use this somewhere on the page, and also it corresponds with the decorative element we're putting on the page. I'll show you that next. So that goes here. All right. So we're not going to put this one on yet, because what we're going to do is put the decorative element. So it is this piece. So see how it's got the small cherries around it? When I cut it out, I believe there was it might have been a green border, I forget what color border, but I cut out the border and I'm going to make my own. So we're going to layer. We're going to layer a bunch, because we have this and then we put that on red. So that's going to be next. I'll measure this in just a second and tell you what the measurements are, but you do you, boo. If it doesn't come out exactly the same as what I did, it's not a big deal. All right, but this Have a Cherry on Top originally was about 3 1/4 by 4 13/16, and then the red below it is about 3 15/16, by 5 1/4. I know, the measurements get crazy. And then I've got a black mat. It's a tiny mat. The black is just barely peeking through. But I like it because it adds what again? Drama. So we'll put that on that mat. Okay. And I see I've got a little glue peeking out. So I got my handy dandy flannel shirt. I camp, so of course I have to have flannel. Alright, so there's that. Now there is also, not this one, this. So this is actually going to go here on the front. The back of it is going to have some blue. Let me do the front first before I worry about the back. So that is going to have a blue mat on it. This piece is 4 3/4 by 6 1/8. I'm going to put this on here, but don't rush ahead because we have to put the magnet down. I don't want you to forget about that. Alright, so that'll go on this black one. So this is just about 1/8 of an inch smaller than the black mat. It's not going on evenly, so I pull it up and do it again. So this is going to be centered on the page. We're going to be putting, is this the piece? Yeah, this will go here, but I don't want to put it on yet because we're going to put the magnet under, but that way you can see how it's going to go. And if you need to have it over far enough because you're going to have a magnet, you could put it this far and then put this cattywampus, but I prefer this to be centered on here. It just gives it a good frame, a good mat. So I'm going to go about 1 inch here. So I know I can add adhesive to the back side, but I'm going to leave this part plain for the magnet and the paper. And I'm going to put a line of glue here. Go close to 1 inch, probably 7/8 of an inch from the top to the bottom, maybe 1 inch from the cardstock. I'm using the dots on the paper to line it up as well, and I'm happy with that. And we're going to have a cherry on top kind of day. This is nice and sturdy because it's got so many layers of cardstock. It is almost as good as a chipboard element. I could have put this on chipboard, but I did not want to have the bulk. But I feel like as sturdy as it is and as many layers, it gives the same effect. Alright, so we're good there. Now I'll go ahead and place the magnet here and the corresponding magnet there, and then we'll continue. Alright, magnets are on. I can put this on. This is about almost 4. It's 3 15/16 by 7 7/8. And that will go here. Again, I used this one, this pattern paper, because I've got that over there. Okay, and then the back of that is the 8 by 8 cherry on top. Yep, cherry on top. So that's the same size as the other one. 3 15/16 by 7 7/8. Although I feel like this was cut smaller, but that's okay. And then the pocket has a couple of pieces. Let me get these together and then I'll show you what we're going to do. All right, I will give you measurements and then I'm gluing things down. So this piece is 2 7/8 by 7 and 2 7/16. I take that back. 2 15/16. Yeah, by about 7 1/4. This is 7 1/4 by 13/16. And that is about 3 7/8, give or take a little bit. So I'll glue those down. All right, let's continue. This is 1 inch by 6 inches. That'll fit there over the magnet. This one is 4 3/4 by 1 1/2. 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. That's 6 1/4 by about 3/8. Alrighty, let's start with the easy ones. 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 for those two. This is a wider page, so that's why it's a different size. It is 13/16 by 6 1/4. This is 5 1/8 by 1 1/2. This is 1 1/2. 1 1/2 by 4 1/4. And 3/8 by 7/8. That's it, except for the matting that goes in the pocket. So let's do that, and then we'll do the mat. All right, so the measurements for this photo mat that goes in the pocket, and you really could do whatever you want for that. But anyhow, okay, so the measurements. So this is, of course, 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. The cherry soda is 1 1/8 by 6 1/2. And so then this is about 5/16 by 4 1/4. This actually has a little piece that's this piece. It's got a dark blue line and a tiny dark blue line. And this came from the outline of the cherry soda. So I had cut that down, took out the outline. I have a little bit I can show you. See here? There's that dark blue and that. So I just used that for here. I just thought it was a nice little finishing touch. And then the back here, so I basically was using scraps. I could have just put one full sheet of pattern paper on it, but I used scraps. So that's 2 3/4 by 6 1/2. This is 5 13/16 by just about 3, and this is 5/8 by just about 3, and then there's that dark blue line. So this piece is what goes inside the pocket in here. I just like that cherry soda showing. And again, there should be pieces in your scraps that have the cherry soda. You could just use a circle punch and put those in the corners. like here where all three papers connect. I like having something there. Of course, you wouldn't glue it down where the photo is going to go, but that is just a nice decorative element. And then I didn't put anything on here because that's where the magnet goes. Feel free to decorate that how you want. All right, next one, the back of page 4 and the inside back cover. Okay, so the back of page 4, fairly simple. So we have the pattern paper. I'm trying to use some of the papers I haven't used at all in the mini album. So I liked this flower paper. It makes a great background. This is the 8 by 8. I used the 12 by 12 paper here, and then this is part of the patterns and solids in the red. And then I added a touch of green to this. So this has a flap, and this is like a freestanding flap. It's attached to one piece of cardstock, which is attached to another piece of cardstock. So it's only, and then we have a mat down below. So it's only 3 pieces of cardstock with lots of decoration and a magnet. So first what we're going to do is put down this, which of course the page is 8 by 7.5. So you cut it 7 7/8 by 7 3/8. I'll go ahead and glue that down. All right, the only scoring is going to be on this small piece. So I just cut it 1 3/4. It really was a leftover scrap, no big deal. We're going to put the short side at the top and score at 1. And we're going to attach this to our top flap, which is 5 by 6 3/8. We are going to add glue to the smaller tab there, the 3/4 of an inch tab. The 1 inch side is actually going to be glued down. And I'm going to glue this to the top flap, which is 5 by 6 3/8. So glue it on the 6 3/8 long piece and have it about 3/8 of an inch from the left side of that flap. Don't have it going over the score line, but just up to the score line. Okay. Grab my bone folder and burnish that. And then this piece is 4 7/8 by about 3/4. It's the back side of the 8 by 8 piece that has all of the decorative elements on it. And I'm going to center that on here. So we will put this on the page about 3/8 of an inch down and 1/4 of an inch from the left hand side of the page. The exact placement isn't as important as making sure that it is straight. Alrighty. Let's decorate the front. Let's just get that done. So I have a piece from the patterns and solids. So that's going to go at the top. All right. So I'm moving the camera. Cut this 1 1/8 by 6 3/8, and that's going to go on the bottom. Come on, move over a little. There we go. All right, and then I have this Life is Sweet piece. I do have the blue border on just because, I don't know, just because. So I'm going to put this on top of the red and just center it as best you can. It's not going to be perfect, but it adds a nice element there. All right, now we're going to take the mat which is 5 by 6 3/8, and put it down here. I do have some of the pattern paper showing through, so that's okay. Just line up the bottom piece. All right, and then I have the side flap, which is 5 inches by 6 inches, and I have this, which is from the 12 by 12. Oh, it's is it the Patterns and Solids? I think it is. So that is just 1/8 of an inch smaller. That's going to go on there. And then this is going to go onto this piece. So I want to fill up a lot of the page, so I'm going to go till there's about 1/2 of an inch left on there. And I already cut this piece, so I know I want that to show. So let's see how much will show on the bottom. Let me measure that. Just about 1 inch on the bottom and 3/8 of an inch on the side. So I am going to add adhesive to here, and just, it's going to get glued down. So I'll add some glue here and there. And again, this is I'm sorry, out of view. Since I've got plaid on here, you've got some lines to help measure things with. So that goes like that. And then we get to work on the inside. So we're going to take another plaid and put that inside. And then I've got a couple of strips. This is going to go here on the bottom. And then I have another one to go there. Let me glue these down and then I'll tell you the measurements. All right, measurements. So this is 5 7/8 by 4 3/4. This is just a 5/8 by 3 7/8, and it sort of tucks in underneath that mat. We have this at 6 1/4 by 7/8, and that's 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. This is 6 1/4 by 1/2 an inch. And then I've got this little embellishment, Life is Sweet. It comes from the 12 by 12 I Love You Cherry Much, the strip up here. I just liked having that little green touch at the bottom as my accent piece on this page. So that just gets centered in there, just like that. Oh, don't forget, put a magnet here. I forgot, and so I had to put the magnet on this little piece, and it corresponds with that. I should have put it down here and on that, but that's okay. It works. So the inside back cover is nothing more than a flap on a pocket. And I do have a photo mat in there. And we are going to make this embellishment. It's just a bunch of layers. So let's grab the paper for the inside back cover. It's just 2 pieces. You need a piece that's 5 1/8 by 9 3/8. Now the width of the page is 8 1/2 by 8 1/2, so it's 8 1/2. So you normally would make it 1 inch smaller, so it would be 9 1/2. But because I just wanted a little bit smaller than that, just because it's the back page and I don't want it to go anywhere near the spine. So 9 3/8. That one we're going to score 1/2 inch, rotate 1/2 inch, rotate 1/2 inch. So you're going to have 1/2 inch on 2 short sides and 1 long side. And then the inside back cover flap, I wanted to see if I have a gusset. I forgot. I do. So we are going to score with the 8 1/2 inch side at the top, score at 3/4 of an inch and at 7/8. So we will have a gusset. So I am going to fold and burnish on those score lines, even though the gusset is right next to that first score line, but we can do it. Okay, I'll grab our book. I'm going to put that top piece on first, and I will grab my scissors and just go across my 2 score lines here on the bottom. Fold and burnish on my score lines for the pocket on the bottom. And don't rush ahead because we're going to have magnets on here. So don't go too fast. And I will add glue to the bottom. And line it up with the bottom of the page. Oops. And then I'm going to add a piece of tape here just so everything flows smoothly. See? So I will add this piece of tape to the bottom. Yes, I got my fingerprints on it, but that's okay. And then I will add glue to the side pieces. Alright, just so I can use up some of the pattern paper that's sitting around so I don't put the wrong piece in the wrong place. So this is a snug fit, but that's going to go right up to that first score line. So I am just going to simply add glue onto here. And burnish on my glue in. And so I have 2 pieces. Again, I was trying to use up some patterns I hadn't used previously. I'm going to put this green on the top, and I still know we need to put magnets on, but before I do, I am going to round the corners of the top. So I'm using a 10mm rounder, but you can use whatever you have. Alright, now let's talk about the decorative element that's going to be the closure as well. Okay, this comes from the 12 by 12 I Love You Cherry Much sheet. It has a blue border around it, but I did cut that blue border off. If you leave the blue border on, You can, but the measurements are going to be different. So I am going to start with white cardstock below it, and of course I'm going to ink that up with some antique linen just to tone it down and get it to match closer to the beigey color that's in this collection. So measurements. So this has been trimmed down to 2 9/16 by about 3 3/4. So I'll add that onto my white cardstock with just about 1/8 of an inch border. So that makes the size of that about 3 15/16 by 2 3/4. And then that's going to go on to red. So again, just a 1/16 of an inch showing. So the red is about 2 13/16 by 4. And then that's going to go onto the black mat. This is for the back side, so we can put the magnet on and you won't see the magnet. So the black cardstock is right at 3 by 4 1/8. So I will add my magnet to that, then put on this, which is the same size as the last red one, and then that's going to go on here. And then once I have my magnet on, then I can put the pattern paper on the bottom. So let me get the magnets and then we'll continue. Okay, so we have this all done. There's a magnet there. I'm putting the corresponding magnet on there so I know where it needs to be. And we'll add glue to the back side. And I put a line of glue right at the bottom just so if I don't go far enough with the glue, I'll have it on the, as far as I need it to go. I'm just going to look at it, eyeball it to center it. If you need to use a ruler to center it, that's fine. And I'll burnish that on real good. And then just so I know where that magnet's got to be, these ones did not have the backing. So I have a dot of glue there. Put my little adhesive there. And my other magnet will stick to that. And I've got this cut, and I realize I probably could have cut it a little longer, but you know what, we'll fix that. So we'll glue this on. And I'll see what I can find to put at the top. And there we go. And so there is our back page, and let's work on the mat to go inside there. All right, we have our 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 photo mat. It is 5 3/4 by whatever the width is of that. I guess it's going to be about 1/4 of an inch, and that'll go on the top. And then this width is 1.5. It's going to be by 6 1/4. And that'll go down there. And then the back side is just plain green. There we go. Alright, and so there is the photo mat to go inside the pocket. And of course this is good for any other memorabilia you might have once you finish this, or any extra photos if you printed off 200 of them and they don't all fit in the book, but a lot do fit in the book. So we've gotten all of the pages done, the inside front cover and the inside back cover. What we're going to be doing in the next video is decorating the front cover, the back cover, the spine, and I'll talk a little bit about the pockets. So I will see you in that video with links in the description box. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and have a fabulous day.